I grew up in a family of businessmen. I'll let you in on a little secret. My name is not actually Chet. It's Harry Stewart Manchester III. My great-grandfather was a businessman, my grandfather was a businessman, my dad was a businessman, and I think in some ways I was expected to be the next businessman to take over the family store. But from the time I was little, I loved to sketch, I loved art. That's what I wanted to pursue. I wasn't sure it was going to work out in college and as a career, so I studied hard and I got good grades and I eventually made it into a very good college on the East Coast. But art was my passion, art was what I loved. And that first semester in college, I knew that this is exactly where I didn't need to be. I loved the academic rigor, I had close friends, it wasn't that, but somewhere inside me I yearned to express all of this love for creativity. And I also had another desire, and that was that I'd taken a class on global issues and looked out at humanity's future, the problems that lay ahead, and I was convinced that we weren't going to solve the problems in this world with the same level of intelligence that had gotten us into those problems, that we needed a spiritual breakthrough. Humanity needed, a new way of looking at God, of life, a more spiritual point of view. And I was familiar with Mary Baker Eddy's book, Science and Health, but I'd never read it all the way through. And so I had this desire to leave college, this is my freshman year, first semester, but leave college and to pursue my art and to read Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, Eddy's book, from cover to cover. So that's what I did. Now, when I got to the chapter on creation, and I love recommending this chapter in her book because it's only about 13 pages long, and it's an extraordinary, innovative, lively, energetic chapter on the creative nature of God. And it begins with God's opening words in the book of Genesis, "Let there be light." It's a chapter that explores and opens up the creative nature of God. And as a young artist, it was thrilling to be reading this chapter and discovering that I was God's paintbrush. God was the artist, God was the creator, and I was His paintbrush. And I had been given an assignment in art school. It was to do an alphabet book. And to tell you the truth, it was a boring assignment from my point of view. It wasn't very interesting, and I couldn't figure it out. I mean, I'd always thought of the alphabet books as kind of A is for apple, B is for boy, C is for cat, and you come up with creative ways of illustrating. But I just wasn't comfortable with the whole construct of the alphabet book, and no ideas were flowing. But late one night, as I'd been reading Eddy's book and in this chapter on creation, I came across a verse that to this day I remember. It just leapt off the page to me. It's where she writes, "God expresses in man the infinite idea, forever developing itself, broadening and rising higher and higher from a boundless basis." So God expresses in each one of us this infinite idea, forever developing itself. And I just caught that vision and I mused on that idea. I just drank it in. And as I was doing so, a poem knocked on the door of my thought. And it came out not just in a few sentences or in dribbles, but as a complete idea. And I grabbed my pencil and I began to write. And this is what the poem said to me. "It all started one day when the letter named A nudged his close friend B. I think there's more to you and me. I'm tired of being just a plain old A, making apples and anthills day after day. Sometimes I feel like there's more inside, like I might even touch the sky." "Well," said B. "Wow," cried C. "What a great idea," shouted D and E. "Maybe we could be something more. Together we should go explore." They crept out late, not making a sound, past the alphabet gate and the alphabet hound. Then to the valley beyond they ran, making sure they were far from the alphabet land. But the valley was dark, and as B looked around, he made the remark, "We could get lost and never be found. What have we done? Why did we go? What will we find? How will we know? Let's go back." And at this point, in this winter evening, this is kind of how I was feeling, that I should go back, get back into the structure, get back into academia, get back on track. I wasn't sure this whole art thing was going to work out. I was feeling a little lost. But the story continued. "Bumblebees, please, just listen to you wanting to turn around so soon. Though now it's dark, don't be afraid. We'll find a way, I'm sure," said A. A's words were simple, very strong and clear, and as she spoke, chased away B's fear, and in fear's place, a color from the sky, then another and another bid the darkness goodbye. The color touched them and helped them to see so many things they thought they'd never be. They were flowers and towers and textures. What fun! Imagination, animation, freedom to run. New dimensions and inventions, rainbows way up high. So many things they thought they'd never be till they learned what it means to try, to reach for the sky. This message, this poem, it went on, it went on. For 30 minutes I wrote. It was a complete idea. When I got done, I took my paintbrush out. I started to illustrate it. The story won an important prize in the art school. What really was happening here is I was discovering more about my unlimited possibilities as a child of God, as a spiritual idea. I was discovering the nature of God. This is what Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy's writings, they were opening up to me, this view of God, this sense of God as all in all, and the creative nature of this creative mind, that I reflected that. And as that happened, this creativity began to spill out. It was not just that the story and the illustrations flowed, but my life began to flow in this direction. I gained the courage, the conviction that I could try, I could reach for the sky, I could go forward and pursue what I loved in life. So if you're facing any limitation, if you're feeling boxed in, if you're feeling frustrated, remind yourself of how creative your Creator is, and that you reflect that creative nature of God, and go ahead and try. Reach for the sky.